How's it going, everyone? Jay Falconio from REMCO Real Talk here. On today's episode, we have Brendan Carey from Core Title, business development expert. Today, Brendan's going to talk about what it takes to be a business networking professional. Let's get started. Welcome. Jay Falconio from REMCO Real Talk here with one of my oldest buddies, Brendan Carey in the networking world. Brendan Carey from Core Title, business development expert in the studio. Welcome, Brendan.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I like the title, business development networking expert.
Expert. I'm putting the E on expert because you taught me how to network. You taught me I needed to get on Facebook. And battle my mother for rights on Facebook. And you taught me I needed to get out and network in the area. And you taught me how to do it. And I wanted to start the podcast with that. I mean, goes way back 3 years. About 3 years from now, I met you, and you weren't the most cheap date. We had me take you to park in the city, and we enjoyed. But there was something about you when I first kind of met you. I think I texted you after we met, and I was like, it's great. Like, we're going to do business together, but like, can we also be friends?
Yep.
Like,
I remember.
Yeah. So we're still very good friends, and I really cherish our relationship, and we'll touch on some of the business aspects of our relationship. But I really want to talk about networking as a whole. We'll start there because this year we have a summer intern, risk management student from Temple, and his end of year project is to develop a networking event, like from scratch.
Okay.
I want to hear about what it takes on your end to throw a successful networking event from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. I think like anything, before you can be great, you have to fail a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I've had not numerous, but I've had a few that were supposed to be 15, 20 people, more intimate groups that maybe turned out to 2, 3 people. And again, you find a way to be impactful still, but getting to those larger groups takes a lot of planning. I think, it starts with an idea. Sometimes it's one person that wants to create the entire event. I like it when a couple people can come together. We can brainstorm, bounce ideas off each other, but it's a lot of planning. Mm-hmm. You're not just going to say, hey, we're going to have an event in a month and then just show up and everything is done, right? I'm hosting something coming up which you're a part of for the pickleball event. And it's been 4 or 5 different phone calls, numerous different meetings with the owner of the location, just constantly checking things, sending out invites. There's a lot that goes into it, but I think the majority of it is coming up with an idea, making the plans, and then delegating to different people on who's going to take on those roles. And then each person has to be accountable to get those things done.
Sure. And you mentioned some of these events turn into more of an intimate event, even if you didn't plan for it. I mean, we've been on the side of throwing a Phillies tailgate where it starts thunderstorming.
Yep. And
we realize that 55 confirmed on Eventbrite means 10 when it's going to rain and thunderstorm.
Correct.
So but I remember that event, and I remember we turned that into a time, and I'll reference a current REMCO agent that I really got to know at that event. A 55-person event turned into a 10-person event, and that's when I spent more time with Zach Cooper.
Yeah. I mean, and sorry to cut you off. That's the great part about that. The larger events, it's a numbers game. Mm-hmm. I go into it with a game plan that I want to meet 5 to 10 new people every event. Mm-hmm. I come with my cards. I make sure I pass my cards out. I make sure I'm also grabbing cards as well. Mm-hmm. So just giving a card, it's only going to get you so far. It doesn't allow you the opportunity to follow up.
Yeah.
So I know you're a little bit more tech savvy than I. You like to put the phones together and share your contact. It's like a magic trick for you. I see your face light up every single time.
We touch iPhone tips.
Yeah, exactly. So the intimate groups can be great because you could get to know somebody a little bit more than just surface level. Those larger events, again, you're kind of working in volume. The goal is to spend maybe 2 to 5 minutes in those larger events, get to know somebody, grab the basic information, try to find a common ground, internalize that, and then kind of maybe move on to the next. Mm-hmm. Because if you spend 30 minutes to an hour with someone at a 2-hour event, it really limits who you can touch.
Sure. Good point.
But again, maybe you are really having an in-depth conversation with someone who's a really good connection for you.
Yeah.
I'm not telling anyone to walk away from that conversation
No,
after 2 to 5 minutes.
No, right.
But, it is a numbers game in any type of business or sales. So I like to do it in volume. And then I'm a big follow-up person. Hey, we met. Great. I got all my information. I'm going to go work the room. If there's someone else that you're looking to meet, let me know. I'd be happy to introduce you while I'm walking around. I'll come back and find you.
Yeah.
And then that actually makes you a little bit more valuable, I would say, because it's not just, I'm only here for me.
Yep.
You start putting other people's needs before yourself, and you gain a lot of credibility that way.
Yeah. Reminds me of some of the events where I have your business cards in my left pocket and my business cards in my right pocket. And that was kind of our method. I felt like even at events that you weren't able to make for some reason, that, by the way, you do a great job with that. You're a father. You have a lot on your plate outside of business development, but you're forever present. You're always in the room. But on those instances where you can't make it in the room, I've been to multiple events where I'm still giving out your business cards. And that's just that is when I knew that we were going to be that tag team, that we hit events, we work the room, we circle up. Sometimes we evaluate these events halfway through. Hey, Brendan, did you talk to who you had to talk to? It's a 200-person event. Yeah, I know everyone else here. How about you, Jay? Yeah, I talked to everyone here. All right, we're going to bounce.
Yeah.
I mean, we really go into it with a game plan. I think that's something I want to bring up, for those who are new to networking, for those who are getting out there, making sure that you're working the room, but also making genuine connections at the same time. So it doesn't feel like you're just going through the motions of like, I need business, but also being able to draw the line where you feel like, you've got the most out of this event. And sometimes those events lead to, I hung around for an extra 2 hours and I really didn't do anything but kind of eat the food and drink the drinks.
Yeah.
So, and we've all been there,
we have.
especially when it's good. But
the one thing that I would put out there too is a lot of people are afraid of networking. Mm-hmm. Not everyone has the gift of gab or is able to work a room as easy as both of us. We're very blessed with that. So my one tip to people would be to try to find a networking buddy. So we kind of did that, and you said game plan. Mm-hmm. In any aspect of life, having a plan is going to help you achieve that goal. So I don't know if you remember, but we used to go and I would say, hey, if it's a 6 to 8 event, let's show up maybe a couple minutes early. Yeah. We'll chat and get situated. Then we're going to spread our wings. Like, we have to get away from each other because that easiness could turn into me and you chatting for 30, 40 minutes and not networking. So we go in with the game plan of, hey, we'll spend 5-10 minutes getting situated. We'll spread our wings for maybe 30, 45 minutes. Then we'll meet back up. Who did we meet? We might share some connections. If there was someone we thought would be beneficial for the other, we'd pass their card and I might actually walk you across the room and introduce you. Sure. But that can help people break down that uncomfortable barrier of not wanting to approach new people. Another little tip that I would say that I try to do, I keep an eye on the entrance. New faces that are just coming in, they're going to be the most uncomfortable. Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of people that you're going to see that are going to walk in and know everybody. But there's also going to be the few people that come in and you can see they look uncomfortable. They're kind of looking around. They might be a little slumped. Body language. You have to really be able to read people's body language. For sure. So if you're able to be that safe person for someone when they walk in and they're kind of just going to walk towards the corner, and going to go sit by themselves, go welcome that person. Absolutely. Ask them if they've been to an event like this before. Ask them if this is their first time at this specific event, if it's a recurring event. Just try to be a helping hand and a safe person for someone, and you'd be surprised how much an impact it will make on them. That's fantastic. I mean, just think yourself about a time where you may have been uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be in a networking setting. Sure. But someone that lent a hand. Playing golf. That could be a good one. We're working towards that. We're working towards that, yeah. I'm still picking up balls and pretending they're mine. But. That's okay. So yeah, if you could just think back to a time where you were uncomfortable and someone helped you, it probably made a really quick impact. And that's one of the things with networking is how can I make as much of an impact in the shortest amount of time? Sure. Because again, we're trying to work an entire room, not just one person. Absolutely. So that's a great point. And it brings me back to some body language is everything. Also like some of those, bring up some B&I tactics where like you see 3 people talking and that's like an engaging conversation, whereas one person by themselves. Yep. And how to approach
how to approach that 3-person conversation, or maybe you grab that one person who's alone and bring them to that 3-person conversation. Now it's a 5-person conversation. So but that's all like visually picking that up. Like you mentioned, I like the entrance idea. Some people walk in and they own the room. Some people walk in and you can tell that they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
But you are that safe haven for them, and kind of will forever be in their mind as somebody who, is comforting.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I'm trying to think of how to word this, but if you can just find a way to help, whether it's, if you're at a networking event for a real estate industry, I work in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always looking to meet realtors, lenders, and attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
If I see somebody that comes in and I start a conversation with them and they're not one of those 3 people, that's okay.
That's okay.
Right? Because a lot of what I do as a business development rep, I consider myself a title partner because I just try to add value.
Absolutely.
But it's just helping people grow their business or in any aspect of life. So you could pick anybody outside of those 3 industries or those 3 titles right there. And helping someone that you're not going to get any business from actually could go a lot further 100%. For you.
100%. Makes you extremely relatable in so many different avenues.
And then it's not a money thing for them. So you're being even more genuine.
I love that.
Right? So they start to think, this person wasn't going to gain from me financially. They helped me.
Yes.
They put me in front of the right people that I was looking to meet.
Yes.
How can I reciprocate? And then they might go out of their way to then ask you, hey, you never asked me for anything.
Yeah.
How can I also in turn help you?
How can I help you?
Because that's human nature. And we talk body language. It's a little bit of psychology. A lot of selling or business is psychology.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that you can read into. But human nature is to reciprocate. When someone does something for you, the majority of people don't want to feel like they owe you.
Absolutely.
So they will try to go back out of their way to hold an extra. I hold a door for you. You go to Wawa, someone wants to get the next door for you, right?
I scratch your back, you scratch mine. But I understand you're coming from more of a genuine and honestly a holistic approach to networking, because it is sometimes it's like, what's my ROI? What's my ROI? And it's like those are the types of people that usually are expecting immediate results, as opposed to like playing the long game, And on that, I think a good testament of your loyalty is the ability for you personally. Like I give you a lot of credit with the ability that you have to acquire sponsors for these events. I wanted to bring that up because like it's not easy to ask a company for X amount of money to sponsor an event right now. I mean, the industry's tight, especially the real estate industry's tight, but you providing that extra value, I mean, the ability that you are able to kind of acquire these sponsors, it relies back on your relationship with these people. I mean, some of your sponsors have really no direct, imply on your, your business development, your title, but you're able to kind of get all walks of life to sponsor these events. And I'm proud to say that, I believe REMCO's one of maybe 8 for Saturday's event coming up. So just talk a little bit about maybe like how you acquire these sponsors, how you built these relationships for these companies to co-brand, like core title with, REMCO, core title with XYZ company.
Sure.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people that I work with are attached to the real estate industry to some extent. Again, REMCO, insurance is in all aspects of real estate. It's really just publicity. Right. Yeah. So even if you're going to come to an event and they might not be directly going to get a buyer or seller from that event, I mean, even a wholesaling company or investment company, it's just about getting their name and face out there. Right. So if we're hosting an event, I think the majority of the events we host are sweet spots like 35 to 55 people.
Yeah.
I would say that's the majority of what we try to operate in.
Yep.
Again, for a small dollar amount, which I would consider smaller, if you get an opportunity to even find one client, and now you're given a list of 50 people, it's now 50 people you can add to a database. We know the database is one of the most important things in any business because it allows you to follow up. It also creates automation. We can add 50 people to a database for a small amount of money. I mean, people pay thousands of dollars for lists of fake people that might not even be alive. They're just like lists of people that aren't around.
That's so true.
And, to be able to be in a room with 50 people who you've tried to work the room and shake a hand and introduce yourself, that's as good as gold. It's a real person. You've had a conversation. Hopefully you've made an impact, and now you can follow up. So I always say if it's a Tuesday event, I'm going to meet somebody. I'm going to say, great chatting with you. However this goes, I'd love to follow up with you come tomorrow by 10 o'clock. I'm very specific, right?
Yeah.
Because then that person is going to either say, yeah, that's okay, or no, don't call me. Now, if they said, no, don't call me, it's not a good connection, most likely.
Yeah.
If they say it's okay, make sure you're punctual. If you're supposed to call at 10, I might call 5 or 10 minutes before. They're expecting the phone call.
Yes.
It's a lot of different touch points in sales too, and in networking. So if I meet someone, touch point 1. I'm going to send them my contact, touch point 2.
I'm glad you're bringing this up.
After the event, I'm going to follow up with even just a text. Hey, great meeting you. Looking forward to chatting with you tomorrow at 10.
Confirmed it.
Gonna confirm it.
I love it.
Even
That's
in the morning.
4 or 5. Keep going. I mean, how many? So I had to interject because there's one gentleman who I referenced, Luke Acree from Reminder Media. He's like one of my marketing mentors. He says it takes a minimum of 9 to make a sale. He'll use that number 9. So to maybe somebody else, you're saying this person's pushy. This person's on my butt to try to make this sale. You have to kind of do it in a fashion where you test the waters, you see it, and then you find out if that person's like really like not going to move forward with this relationship. You cut it pretty early, but I think it's great to continue to try to have a relationship. And even if they say no, I'm not interested in this, you make a mental note for yourself for maybe 3-6 months down the road.
Yep.
What's that? That's touch point 5, touch point 6, touch point 7. So it continues to kind of build up. Yeah.
And I like that you said that around 9. So when I was at Xerox, all this crazy formal training, they would say 7 to 10 touch points for the average person to get a sale.
Yeah.
Now, different from industry to industry would be my belief, because in real estate, it's the largest purchase of someone's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, though, then I follow up in the morning. Then I would call.
Yeah.
Thank them for the call after. Just different touch points. And then throw them in the CRM.
It's a good muscle memory.
Follow up with them.
I mean, heck, like even like as good as we are with our calendars, you and I, and you are fantastic with your calendar, you'll still follow up with me on like a Saturday round of golf. Like you'll just be like, "Hey, are we still playing?" I'm like, "Of course we are," but because I get that. But that's a muscle memory tool that you work. Another thing I want to talk about is, business development has changed, in my opinion, over the years, like especially after COVID. So, what new trends are you seeing out there? And then, what are some common grounds that will always forever stay the same in business development?
Yeah, I think the root of business development is relationships. Yeah. So I don't think that'll ever change. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of people are looking for something outside of just a relationship now. Mm-hmm. I like to lead with value. Mm-hmm. So my first piece is always to build the relationship and see if there's some synergy there. Mm-hmm. Then the next piece is to ask questions. Telling's not selling. Selling's not telling.
One of those.
One of them.
Sounded good to me.
Yeah. So if I can ask a lot of questions, I can kind of uncover who they're currently working with, what company, what that person or company is doing for them, to try to help them do one of 2 things: be a better professional and make more money.
Yeah.
And if that person or company is not doing that and I can do that, I'll say what I'm going to do and I'm going to do it, then I usually have an opportunity to win the next step, which would be an order. Right. So that could translate to any business. Mm-hmm. But relationship first, value second.
Value second. Okay, good point. Something that a misnomer that I literally had to like flip on its head, because I was always, we've had this conversation. I was like, if I'm sponsoring, I gotta be the only insurance person in the room. I mean, this was me like, 2021, 2022, where I guess it was anxiety driven almost. It was almost like I wasn't confident enough in our business at REMCO that I needed to be the only broker in the room, which in 2022, 2023, when I started actually meeting other brokers, I started to realize this is how I'm going to take the company to the next level. Yep. So I partnered with, Tyler Ardren, we hired Zach, we hired Carl, who worked for Liberty Mutual. All of these agents I met in the same room networking that are now on the REMCO side of the fence. So I think in general, depending on whatever industry you're in, there's still also some benefit in being in the room with other title agencies. And I'm gonna bring this up because title is one of those insurance products that like no one really knows what it is. And this is my title company and this is who I deal with. So I guess that's just maybe a more complex question, but how do you, Brendan Carey, who again, business development expert in my opinion, how do you navigate those waters around the other title agencies in New Jersey, PA, surrounding areas?
Yeah, I mean, I've had great mentors since I've came into this business. My boss, Justin Steinberg, one of the 3 owners, told me right away, you always want to play nice in the sandbox. So whether I would like somebody outside of work or not, if they were my competition, I always try to treat people fairly. I always try to go out of my way to approach them and say hello if I see them at an event. It's sales, it's cutthroat to a certain extent, but you are right. I mean, I could see other realtors network together and it's no big deal, right? They can all be friends, and it's just a strange dynamic in the title world that I wish didn't exist, but unfortunately it does.
Sure.
I've hosted events with other people where I sponsored, and other title people come out, and I no sweat off my back. I don't worry too much about it because I'm confident in my skills.
Love it.
I'm confident in the partnerships and the relationships that I have, that even if another title person or another representative from a title company is around, I don't worry.
I like that. And that's the confidence I had to learn, like, over years.
Right.
I really had to learn that it wasn't coming from a place of anxiety. I had confidence that our agency is our agency, and in my head, we're confident that we're the best, and the chips will fall where they fall. I like Justin's model. Don't fight in the sandbox. I also like Justin as a leader. So as from the outside looking in, when I look at companies that really have no inner relationship other than maybe passing business to REMCO, I look at their leaders, right? And how do they kind of manage from the top? So personally, I enjoy hanging out at the events with Justin. I think he leads by example. So some of these companies, you look at who the driver is, and that can shape a lot of opinions by the outside. The outsider looking at these companies. So it's good to hear.
Yeah, I will say, even though it can be a little crazy, the title world, you got to think there's only so many producers out there, right? We're all in this little box, essentially. We're all Burlington, Camden County, or Philly, and there's only so many really good companies. But I think one of the best things that you can do is to never negatively sell against your competition.
Right.
I immediately, if someone is trying to sell me a product or service and they start telling me what someone else is doing in a negative light, 9 times out of 10, they're going to lose my business right on the spot.
That's interesting.
So I try to play the flip side of that coin, where if I'm having a conversation or a consultation with someone and they're telling me, oh, I work with XYZ company and XYZ person, I try to speak highly of them. Because unless, if they're a trash company, I just won't say anything. It's good to hear, like, what are they doing for you? But without naming other companies, I've had people bring people up and say, you know what? They do a great job. I've heard great things about them. Respect their business, great office. And I keep it moving. Or I'll just say, they do a great job. What we do really well is help people achieve their goals. Have they done anything to help you grow? Try to ask a question to maybe build doubt, but never negatively sell. I want people to get the wheels turning. I want to, when I'm having that conversation with them and we're making eye contact, I want them to have that light bulb moment where I say, well, what have they done to help you grow your business?
Good question.
And they start to,
what have they done?
Exactly.
Exactly. Think about it.
I can appreciate a beautiful office. I can appreciate, fun events. But have they sat down and business planned with you? Have they asked you what your goals are for the year?
Right.
Have they showed you what your average price point is and what your growth has been through the year? Have they said, hey, you were doing great the first 5 months and now we've noticed a significant drop. Is everything okay?
Wow.
I've noticed your business has been on the decline. I want to chat with you about what you were doing prior to get you back to that point, or even help you achieve greater heights.
So it's more of a coaching, hands-on approach. Now, are you seeing that? Is this a normal thing to do for title offices? This sounds unusual to me.
Yeah, no, it's not. So, and that's the thing that when I said I want to lead with value after relationship, that's where I come in. So I want to be a partner, whatever that person needs. So I'm going to sit down with them, uncover a lot of bodies or questions that are pain points, and I'll start to dig a little bit more. You need to get them comfortable enough to open up. And then taking a consultative approach overall is going to help you help them in any way.
Sure.
So at least you're going to do something for them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, of course I could go, oh, well, my title company is going to have the quickest closings. We're going to have the best closers. We're going to have the greatest snacks.
The greatest snacks.
Like these are things that
snacks
like
are big in the title.
You would laugh because like,
table.
I've lost business to someone that has a bunch of candy at their office.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Cool.
Do your buyers or sellers care that much that there's a wall of candy?
I hear you. You
know what I'm saying?
No. You're touching on a lot of like the meat and potatoes of building a business outside of title, and I love that.
One more thing I want to say too is, if we can look at something and say, hey, you've done, just for the easy math for people, you've done 12 deals in a year. You're doing 1 deal a month, and that's great. You've done that for the last 2 years. What if I could teach you something? What if I could show you how to be more productive with your time? And then after 3 months, we take a look and we've noticed you've had an average of 2 deals a month. I don't want to take the credit for it, but I would say it's probably something that we did or put a system in place to help you achieve those new heights.
Right.
And once we can show that person, hey, ever since we started working together, your business has been flourishing. Why are we splitting orders between me and that other company?
Yeah. Client forever.
And then they start to see again, they have that another light bulb aha moment, and then they're able to start sending more stuff. I say, why wouldn't you want to work with someone that's genuinely going to help your business?
Sure. And good for you to bring that up too and make them realize it, because sometimes I feel like people kind of get lost in the sauce with like what's been working. And in any business, right? I think for us right now, we're doing a few interesting things with marketing, and it's doubling down. It's like, okay, it's working and it's making us X, but why don't we spend more and make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6X? So like you guys being able to bring that up has that aha moment. Otherwise, who knows what they're going to think in their head? Maybe it's not core title that's doing this. Maybe it's me, I'm doing better, but you're sitting down and reminding them, we are doing this for you. This is how it is. Yep. This is how you're scaling your company based on our sit downs. And then you bring up the point. Why aren't we your only title agency?
Right. So because if one is doing this and one is doing this.
I hear you 100%.
And I will say that's the biggest struggle in the title business.
Yeah.
You can work with someone from inception, from the first time they get their license. And, if they're at a brokerage or on a team, they could have been introduced to someone first.
Sure.
Kind of been forcing their hand. And you could do all this for someone over the course of 3 months, 2 years, whatever. And you may never get a shot at that business just because no one asks for it.
Right.
But if I'm the type of person that say, hey, how can I help you? Oh, you need 3 introductions to attorneys? Okay, when we wrap this meeting, are you okay with me sharing some contacts and throwing you into a group chat?
Yeah.
So by the time that meeting is done, I've already fulfilled what you've asked of me.
Right.
And then once I've done that, then I might say, hey, XYZ person, Jay, Carl, whomever, you said you were looking for 3 introductions to attorneys. I got those over to you. Did any of those pan out? You were able to find some business. Great. Yeah. Is there any shot you could take a look at your database and see if you know any realtors, lenders, or attorneys? That would be a great introduction.
Such a large percent of people don't actually do that. They send the referral, and it could be gold or it could be trash. And they're not even going to follow up to figure that out. And I learned that too through networking groups like BNI. Yeah, following up and figuring out, I sent you 20 referrals over the year and you haven't sent me anything. Well, 18 of those referrals were no call, no shows, or no answers.
Yep.
And the 2 of them didn't even fit my markets. So I learned that sitting down with people that I've been sending referrals to and not seeing that thank you for closed business and figuring out why the stuff maybe I'm sending them isn't hitting the mark is so important. Or the ones that cash in and it's a huge deal and they just say, nothing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Those are the craziest. Imagine
and they happen every day.
Yeah. And imagine sending out, imagine making a connection to someone for a $700,000 deal.
Yeah.
100%. That's like a $21,000 commission.
Yeah.
And then you don't even hear from them.
You want to hear something crazy?
Like you see it closes and you're like, whoa.
So I try that too with like our relationship and other relationships. I always try to make sure that the relationships is very, very mutual. Whether
mutually beneficial. We say that all the time.
Always trying to figure that out. And this brings up another point. Like as a business development expert, someone who's been doing this for quite some time, your relationships cost money, right? So this goes back to something I heard from Dev Denofa, a big realtor in the Jersey area. He mentioned that like some of his mentors, some of his leaders have people sign these like forms that say, you know, if I give you a connection, I get X% of the money you make from this connection.
Sheesh.
Right? But like think about that, man. Like think about how so many people are willing to connect people with others and then not reap the rewards. What if you, for example, Zach's a REMCO agent right now. You connected me to Zach. You know, not to just bring this up very straightforward, but Zach's doing very, very well for us. But there has to be some reciprocity for the fact that he was one of your networking connections. But I'm saying, like, you could think back in the long term, like your relationships, the things that you've been developing over this year, your book, your iPhone with your clients in it, whether they buy insurance or don't buy insurance, they all provide value in some way. So when you spent the time and the energy, and we know some of these events cost money to get into, and not to mention the time, right? How much time at events did you spend shaking hands, meeting people? For you just to send that contact out to somebody, I mean, I hope that like it's much appreciated that relationships cost money in a way.
That's true. I don't, everyone has the way that they go about doing things. I don't look at it like that.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's a view.
Guy, a great business partner for a lot of people, very well respected.
I'm not saying he looks at it that way. I'm saying he brought up a mentor who like basically were to say that his relationships, like just in general, his relationships costed him a lot of money to obtain. I guess his network, right? You know? Sure.
Yeah. So the only reason I wanted to stop you there is because I have had someone close to me tell me, hey, I really want to help you with this. I really want to help you with this project. And I'm like, okay, cool. And in reality, they didn't want to help me. They wanted to make money off of me.
Okay.
So I think there's a line between, you know, hey, I want to help you. I'm going to make this introduction for you. And hey, I'm making this introduction for you because I know I'm going to ask you for a financial gain.
Yeah.
You know, that's not the way that I go about doing it. I think that if you take, I would consider that the quickest route, A to B, to get some money. I sometimes, my boss might not like this, but take the longer route because I think that would have more longevity.
Okay.
You know, I could go right for the throat, so to speak, like a lion and go, hey, you know, I know you're doing great business. I see you're at XYZ company. I mean, we both got kids, we both golf, we both this, like we were pretty much the same person. Why not give me a shot at a deal?
Sure.
Throw me a bone, you know?
Yeah.
That's, I don't do that. And that's why I've done well in the 3-4 years I've been in this business because like I said, relationship first.
Yeah.
Be genuine.
That's true.
Understand somebody's needs. Offer your help.
Yeah.
Say you're going to do something, then do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
and then after you've done it, then you could say, hey,
or
you asked me for this. I've done this.
I fulfilled this. Yeah.
Any shot you
so
can
you're
just
not
make
concerned,
an introduction.
You're not concerned. And I don't think you should be concerned. I'm just making this like, so the next 3 contacts you send me, they're going to be $5 a piece. And you've never wondered that, you know, you're just doing like pay it forward. You're all like good karma holistic. I think your model's great. I think it,
Thank you.
I need to be, personally, I need to think more like that because I believe in like a long-term relationship, longevity, all good things, pay it forward, karma. Sometimes I definitely am like too quid pro quo with my relationships. And I've been learning to try to be less like that because it's less transactional. I think what I was trying to get at is you're never concerned about how big of a connection you might make somebody and not know about it.
I'm never worried about it.
Okay.
I might think about it.
Yeah.
But I'm never worried about it.
Okay.
I try to not let things affect me as much. Can only control 2 different things. It's my activity and my attitude.
Yeah.
If I keep a positive attitude and I keep making my calls, keep going to the networking events, that's what I can control. I will be successful. If I have a poor attitude, people aren't going to want to spend time with me at the events. If I don't make the calls, if I don't follow up, if I don't send out the happy birthdays and the anniversaries and, hey, your kid was having a soccer game, call them up. Hey, how'd your kid do? Oh, your daughter was in a play this weekend. We found out at a closing. The next week, touch base.
Sure.
little things like that
Yeah.
are gonna go really far with people. I try not to. I think actually the biggest issue with our industry in the title world is that people, not myself, other title companies look at people as their clients. I think that those people that say that are looking at them like a cow, like a cash cow.
Sure.
They like see a dollar on their forehead,
Yeah.
right? When they're just people.
Sure.
So I've been to networking events where other title reps are glaring at me as I'm talking to one of their clients.
Yeah. Like they're like you're talking to their
like they have the
property or
rights to
something
them.
like that.
Yeah,
that's
like
not
they're
right.
like they're signed under a contract for like a basketball contract. Like, no, you can't go play for another team. Like, no, that person can send an order to me and test the waters if they want.
Absolutely.
Or maybe we're just getting to know each other. But because they have their own insecurities,
Yeah,
they
it
want
goes back to the anxiety.
they
want to
stare
lack
at you
of
and make
confidence
you uncomfortable. And then I kill them with kindness. Like I said, if I see that, I'll go up to them and say, "Hey, how are you? And
pretty good at
how's
that.
everything go?" Yeah, it's it might upset people, but there's no need to be nasty.
No, 100%.
Somebody could get upset by me going up to them and say, "Hey, great to see you. Looks like you got a new pair of shoes. I love them." It's crazy.
Just compliment the shoes.
Give a compliment to somebody. Hey,
Yeah.
you look fantastic. Hope all is well. You just got married. Congratulations.
Sure.
Saw that. That's a big stepping stone.
Nice.
What's next? Try to just be nice. And it's funny because you'd be so surprised to see how upset being nice to someone can make them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, my goal isn't to make them upset. My goal is to just be nice.
Be kind.
And I think that they would rather me be nasty.
Be kind. Can't go wrong with being kind any day of the week. So transitioning a little bit into outside of title insurance, you mentioned I can control my activity. I can control my phone calls. I can control, what keeps you sane. Like, what are some things, daily rituals? I know you're a big fan of the 75 Hard program. You've successfully completed that multiple times. I mean, lost a ton of weight, got in great shape.
Thank you.
Congrats. I couldn't personally.
You could.
It's a tough. Yeah, I guess
it starts here.
Starts there.
It starts here. Yeah, it's again, planning.
Yeah.
No way you're going to get that done unless if you just fly by the seat of your pants. Get other people involved, accountability partners.
Right.
I put everything on my calendar, whether it's business, whether it's with me and my daughter, the gym and stuff. I mean, if it's on your calendar, it's really, really high percentage it's going to get done.
Sure.
You have to make the 75 hard the most important thing in your life at that point because if you miss one thing, you start back at ground zero.
You check in with your community, you check in with your family, you check in with your network.
Yeah.
And so important to let them know what's happening. Cause I also know, what's Brendan doing this week? Oh, he's still one more week of 75 hard. So it's I'm not even going to reach out to you because I already know you're on the outside 60
forces.
75.
Yeah, the outside forces are the toughest. I went to New York actually with some friends and family to go visit. And he only had 2 weeks left, and they're like, I cooked steaks, and my cousin's girlfriend was making Brussels sprouts, and she put honey on them, which is great for everyone, but it was just not part of my diet.
Can't have honey,
and I couldn't have honey because it was a sugar, And the funny thing was, I said, no, it's no big deal. I'm just eat the steak and the potatoes, and she's like, no, eat the Brussels, and I'm like, well, they have honey. I'm just like, I didn't know. I'm so sorry, and she's like, just have some. I'm like, I worked for 60 days.
Sure.
It's not about, someone's going to know that I had honey and cheated. It's that I will know, and I will know I didn't accomplish my goal.
Good for you.
And then I would feel bad about it.
I support you, and I think that's part of the willpower, and also having people around you. I guess so many people are afraid to get judged too, right?
That's the biggest thing.
Brendan's not even honey, or
he's not drinking.
Food. Well,
that's the biggest one.
That's a big. That's something that
our society
needs
damaged
to kind
us
of
with that.
Need to flick that around the other direction. But in terms of coming from an Italian household and food is everything. When I told my mom I was going to start eating clean, and she was like, you can't have rigatoni, you can't have this, you can't have, her heart was hurt. So it's there's culture involved too, right?
Sure.
What if it was the 4th of July? Let's just say you were doing 75 for the 4th of July and your mom made this famous dessert and you never missed a year where you didn't have that dessert. That's tough. That's
you
tough,
have to
right?
put your own desires and your own goals before anyone else's feelings, which sounds selfish, but it's not. But it's not because
in a way,
your life isn't meant to just appease everyone.
I hear you.
Your life is for your own goal.
I think there has to be a very good balance of selfless and selfish.
Sure.
And obviously, this is something you wanted to do to better yourself. So in this moment, you were being selfish and thinking about yourself, but it was like something that was important to you. And I think that it's not hurting anybody, right? That's the other thing. Like a lot of times people bring up the word like, being fit and making these commitments to yourself, waking up every morning, going for a run or going to the gym is like, all you care about is your image, or, you care about, your health too much, and you're not going to let your looks will fade. That always comes up.
Sure.
It's like, I'm trying to be the better version of myself so that I can be the best version for everybody else. And you're hating on someone who's trying to work to make themselves better. Can you imagine if they were sneaking out and going to booze or going to do drugs or something like that? That's something that would be selfish. But I think if you're working on yourself, and you can prioritize and you can plan, I think planning's big, right?
Yeah.
Put it in your calendar. The percentage of things that don't happen when you don't put them in your calendar, in my opinion, is like 99.9% of things don't happen. If you were to tell me there's an event next week and I didn't put it in my calendar, I wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how quick are you to put that in, right?
Always, right? I mean, we're finishing a conversation and I'm already sending it over.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because we do live in a society where bettering yourself is actually looked down upon, and going out and drinking and splurging on money when you don't have it is looked at as a positive, right? Like I could choose to stay home for 3 months and not drink and not eat fast food and really focus on reading, mental health books and self-improvement books. And someone would be like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, you're waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym and you're reading books. Like, why not come out and have a beer with us? Like, why not go run around the city? Like, I've done all that, and like it doesn't get you anywhere. You don't achieve anything by having that extra drink. You don't achieve anything, by getting that extra phone number at the bar. Yeah. Like, unless your goal is to make that person your lifetime partner, that extra number won't give you any type of accolades or anything.
Sure.
So
it's a good point.
I don't know.
I hear you 100%. All right. So transitioning, I guess, to Brendan Carey's future. What's next for you? What's next for you business wise? What's next to you core title? Like, what are some projects you're working on?
Core's always working on different things. We're always looking for good salespeople. I'd love to bring another sales rep underneath me that I could try to teach kind of the culture and how I go about doing things, and see how we could grow Core. For me personally, I would love to get more into the investing space. I bought my own first primary about 18 months ago in Mt Laurel. Yep. That's worked out really well. Looking to buy my first flip and or buy and hold for a rental property this year at some point. Right. And the goal is to do 1 and 1 every year.
Nice.
Going forward, I'd love to do 1 flip, get some capital to then do a rental. And the goal for me is to have 10 rental properties by the time I'm 40.
Love it.
So I've got about 9 years to grab 9 more.
That's fantastic. You got a hell of a network behind you to make sure it happens. You got all the resources available. I guess that's one thing that, a lot of people wonder who's your guy or who's your girl for this, but within the industry, you have...
There's numerous people, and I've learned from surrounding myself with successful and people smarter than I that there's more than one way to skin a cat's the expression. There's so many different ways to be involved as an investor. Sometimes all you need to do is find the deal, right? I know plenty of people just find the deal and then someone will fund the entire deal and they're 50-50 partners, which is wild. But finding the deal is the hardest part.
Right.
Some people find the deal and don't have the capital and just need a silent partner because they have all of the resources, they have the deal, and they just need the money. And then 50-50 partners. There's some people that are multiple partners involved in transactions. So there's so many different things you can do. You can hard money. You can get personal line of credit. So many different things that you can do to get deals. But by surrounding myself with these successful people that have done it, not once, not twice, but they're doing it weekly. They're doing it monthly. They're doing 5, 10, 20, 30 deals in a month.
Right.
Whether they're wholesaling them or they're buying them themselves, rehabbing them, and then flipping them. There's just so many people out there that even if you can't get FaceTime in front of them, they're doing their own podcast. They're posting on Facebook or Instagram. They're putting all the information out there for you. So that's what's next for me. I foresee myself constantly networking, constantly growing my book of business for the title world. Who knows what's in store for me one day? Maybe try to be a part owner of Core. If one of the owners decides to get out one day in late future. No, I don't foresee that happening. It's a great company and everyone's in the perfect sane state of mind and super healthy. But you never know. Things do change and if the opportunity presents itself and I can make something like that happen, I would. I mean, I've branded myself as Mr. Core Title and all my stuff, and
business development expert now. You're all in, man. I mean, you really are. They're very lucky to have you, and I appreciate our relationship. And you brought up that you were looking for other agents. So just because we have the mics in front of us, we have the cameras. You know, I wonder in insurance, there's like a gate, like either they study risk management or maybe they sold home and auto insurance, and you know that REMCO does mainly commercial insurance. So home and auto agents have become kind of somebody that I want to get in front of and let them know what REMCO's doing. Is there any kind of like gateway to the title industry that you've found? Like, are there industries that you're looking to recruit from, or
anyone that people person?
People person. Yeah.
That's the best fit.
Extroverted. Yeah. All right.
Business oriented people's person.
Okay.
Because there are people that are people's person and they're not very business savvy, or they're not very organized.
Yeah.
Again, in order to be successful in this business, you're going to talk to so many people. You need to stay organized. You need to have a plan. I can tell anyone what I'm going to do 3 weeks from now on Tuesday.
I love it.
You know, like that's just
all right. I got it. So you need business minded, extroverted,
definitely
extroverted business people that are organized. So if you're listening, if you're listening and you are that person, reach out to Brendan.
Reach out to me.
Core Title, and we'll add his tags and all that kind of stuff at the footer of this episode. And I'm going to kind of wrap things up there. So again, my guest today is Brendan Carey, a good friend of mine from Core Title, business development expert, golfer. He's a good golfer. So if you want to golf with him, let him know. It's also another thing that, me and him are working on, is networking on the golf course and making good connections out there. So we're closing, Brendan. So if there's anything else you wanted to mention before we hop off the air.
No, just thank you for having me. I appreciate not only being on the podcast, I appreciate not only our business relationship, but our personal friendship. That's one of the great things about networking, is you can really find some good people out there that you're not just looking to gain from financially. You can help each other. But like you said, we spend time outside of work, and building those type of relationships are going to get you so much further. And just on the core aspect, we are in 4 different states. We're in Jersey, we're in PA, we're in Michigan, and we are in Florida.
Nice.
So if you know anyone that's buying or selling or refinancing in those areas, feel free to reach out. Would love to help. And super responsive, great team behind us, and a great closing facility.
Let's go. All right, great time. I hear the music's coming, and that's the end of REMCO Real Talk for today. Cue the Sundance.